Okay, hi everyone. So we're sticking with converting fractions, decimals and percentages today. So some of it we're going to do stuff that we've done before but in a different way. So we're going to see an alternative method for something that you can do already, and then we're going to do something that we can't yet do. So the first thing that we're going to do is, we already do know how to do this, we did this last lesson, but we're going to look at a different way of doing it. So method number one of converting fractions to decimals, we saw that we could just divide. So to do this one, we'd do 3 divided by 5. So we'd do this using bus stop method, and we'd see, okay, so 5 does not go into 3, so that's 0, and then we carry the 3. So then we've got, how many times does 5 go into 30? It goes in 6 times with no remainder, so we finish it there. So our answer for 3/5 would be 0.6. So what we're going to do today is look at an alternative method, and this can be a little bit quicker. So we've got 3/5. What we want to do is get the denominator to be a multiple of 10. Specifically a multiple of 10 that is a power of 10. So when I say that, I mean either 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, something that has a place value column, and we'll see why in a second. So what can we times 5 by to get one of these? So let's go for 10, because it's quite easy to times 5 by something to get 10. So let's times it by 2. So that gives us 10 on the bottom of the fraction on the denominator. But to keep it equivalent, we need to do the same to the top and the bottom. So we're going to do 3 times 2, which is 6. So what we've got here is 6/10. So let's go to our place value. So we've got our units column, a decimal point, we've got a tenths column, we've got a hundredths column. So here we've got 6/10. So we don't have any units, so we have 0 in the units column. And we've got 6/10. So that is a 6 in the tenths column. And we haven't got any hundredths, so we can just cross out this column. And we can see we've got 0.6, and we've got the same answer that we got up here. So we've worked out in the same way. We've worked out 0.6. All we've done is we've used place value. So if we can get the denominator of the fraction, so the bottom of the fraction, to be one of these numbers, we can then just use place value. So we're going to do a few more examples to show you what I mean. So 37/200. So with this one, we could divide it by 2 to get 100, but 37 doesn't divide by 2. So we'd end up with a decimal there. So we're going to do it a different way. So we'll write out the numbers we could aim for again. So 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. And any of these have got a place value column. So 100's a bit too small, so it's 10. So let's go for 1,000 this time. So we've got 37/200. So what could we times 200 by to get 1,000? So if we times it by 5, we're going to get a denominator of 1,000. So to keep it equivalent, we have to times the top and the bottom by 5. So you might want to use a calculator to do this one. So 37 times 5 would be 185. Okay, so now we're looking at the thousandths column. So let's write it out again. So we've got units, we've got tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Okay, so this time what we're going to do, we'll start at the thousandths column. So we've got 185. So if you've got more than 10, you have to go out into the next column. If you've got more than 100, you're going to go into the next column again. So if we've got 185 thousandths, that means it's going to look like this. So you can see if we've got 185, it's kind of 185 in the thousandths column. It's just obviously when you've got more than 10, you have to go into the next columns. And we don't have any units, so we just put a 0 there. So 185 thousandths. So this example is really important because this is one where we're actually going into other columns because of our place value. And that's fine to do that. If we've got, let's say, 23 hundredths, so if we did our units, tenths, hundredths, so again, if we've got 23 hundredths, we start off with this, but we see we can't fit 23 in, so we have to go into the next column. But that's fine to do that. So the key thing is, if it's too big to fit in the column, you can go into the next column, that's alright. So we've converted 37 200ths into a decimal. The first thing to do though was to get it to be one of these. So step one, get denominator to be a power of 10. So get the denominator to be either 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, something that has a column. Step two, fill in using place value. And with all of these, you can do it using the other way as well, the way we did before, where you just divide. That's a completely valid method. So if you're a bit unsure with this method, you can always do the other method. This is just an alternative. Okay, so 13 25ths. So let's think about how we can do this one. So again, we could do it with division, that would be fine, but we are going to do it using our new method. So things we can try and get it to be 10, 100, 1,000. We're going to try and get the denominator to be one of these numbers. So there's not something nice we can times by to get it to be 10, so we're not going to pick 10. Is there something we can times it by to get 100? There is. So if we times 25 by 4, we get 100. So then we also need to times the top by 4, and that gives us 52. So now let's write out our columns. So units, tenths, and hundredths. So you can see we're looking at hundredths, and we've got 52. So 52 is too big to fit in one column, so we're going to have to go into the next column. So we've got 50 and 2. And we have 0 in the units column. So we've got 52 hundredths is this, and this is equivalent to 13 25ths, and we did that because of equivalent fractions. So using place value can be really quick. So we've done our two-step, we worked out what denominator we want, and then we made it equivalent and worked it out. And then we used place value to get our answer. So I've got one more example of this and then some practice. So 17 tenths. So this one, the denominator is already one of those, so it's already got its own column. So we don't actually need to do anything with that one. So what we're going to do is write out, we've got a units column, we've got our tenths column, and we don't need to go anymore because we're looking at tenths. So we've got 17 tenths. So if you want to pause it now and have a go, see if you can work out what this one would be. 17 tenths. So this is actually going to be, so 17 tenths. 17 is too big to just fit in one column. So we're going to have 7, and we're going to have to carry the 1 over to the next column. So we've got 1.7. And that would be our answer. 1.7. So just because we're doing decimals, they don't always have to be less than 1. If the top number is bigger, it's actually going to be bigger than 1. So in this case, 17 is bigger than 10, so we're going to end up with a number that isn't just 0 point something. Okay, so now to do some practice. So I've got some questions here. I'd like to have a go at these using our new method. If you're really not sure, you can use the method we did before. Either method is valid. So pause the video, have a go at these. The answers are going to pop up in a minute, so if you want to check your answers as you go along as well, just skip ahead a couple of seconds, then go back when you've checked. So make sure you are checking your answers though, as you go along. Okay, so here's the answers to those first ones, hopefully you got them right. If there's any you're not sure of, go back, have a look and have a go at the other ones, or maybe try doing it the other method and see if you get them right that way. Okay, so now let's have a look at converting fractions into percentages. So with percentages, the key thing is percentage means out of 100. So it's really similar to when we're just doing it fractions. The only difference is rather than thinking of tens, hundreds, thousands, because we're doing percentage, which is all about 100, we're always going to try and aim to get it to be hundreds if we can. So what we're going to do, let's do 3/5. Let's see if we can get it in terms of 100. So what can we times 5 by to get 100? We can actually times it by 20. If we times it by 20, that gives us 100 on the denominator. But to keep it equivalent, we need to do the same to the top as well. So we end up with 60 out of 100. And 60 out of 100 is 60%. So the other way you can do it is convert it into a decimal and then just convert it to a percentage, which is another completely fine method. Some cases this is a bit quicker, some questions that one's a bit quicker. Okay, 38/200ths. So this one, we can see that actually our denominator is bigger than 100. So to get it to be 100, we're going to have to divide. So we've got 38/200ths. What can we do to 200 to get it to be 100? We can divide it by 2. So that gives us 100 on the denominator. On the numerator, we need to do the same thing to keep it equivalent. So 38 divided by 2 is 19. So we've got 19 out of 100, which is 19%. And the reason that is because percentage just means out of 100. So if we've got 19 out of 100, that is 19%. Okay, we've got this one and one more example, so 13/25ths. So again, we're dealing with percentage, so 100 is the number we're going for. So we want our denominator, or the bottom of the fraction, to be 100. So what can we times 25 by to get 100? Well, if we times it by 4, that gives us 100 on the denominator. And what do we need to do to keep it equivalent? We need to times it by 4 as well on the top. So 13 times 4 gives 52 out of 100. So 52 out of 100 means 52%. And that is because percentage means out of 100. Okay, and last one, we've got convert 17/10ths into a percentage. So again, same method, we're going to get a bit of an unusual answer though. So 10, what can we times that by to get 100? Because we want our denominator to be 100, that's by 10. So we end up with 100 on the denominator. Numerator, we have to do the same, we times that by 10 as well. So we get 170 out of 100. So this looks a bit odd because we've got more than 100 on the top. But this is fine, this is just like with the decimal one that we did before, where we ended up with 1.7. The only difference is, with this one, so we've got 170 out of 100, that means we've got 170%. Now this looks a bit unusual because 170 is more than 100. But all this means is 170%, that's more than the full amount. So if your money went to 170% of what it is now, you would have 70% more money than you have now. So you can get percentages more than 100. You don't see them as much, but you can get them, and you'll see them more as you go up the school. Okay, so some practice questions now with this one. So there's a few more questions for this one. Again, what we're going to be doing is converting these into percentages. So the key step 1, is get the denominator, or the bottom of the fraction. So I'll just write get the bottom of the fraction to be 100. So get the bottom of the fraction to be 100 using equivalent fractions. So make sure you times the top and the bottom, and then just write as a percentage. So when you've got it something out of 100, it's just that percent. Write as a percentage. So again, answers are going to be on the next slide, so pause the video now and have a go at these, but do check your answers as you're going along. With these last couple, you're going to have to divide as well because the denominator is bigger than 100, but worry about them when you get to them. There is an extension sheet attached to Firefly as well. Do the ones on the slide first, and then if you finish them and you've still got time, you can have a go at the extension ones, but don't worry about them if you're still working on the slides. If you do just do the slide ones, that's completely fine. So here's the answers to the ones that were there before. So check your answers as you're going along. Make sure you're getting them correct. If there's any questions, feel free to email me.